Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with some more War Thunder ground forces, and today, as I'm sure most of you are aware, we are in open beta testing, which means that this is available to anyone and everyone. You no longer have to buy your way in, you don't have to know the secret handshake, you can just get in and play for free, update your client to version 1.41, and go. But before we begin our gameplay today, I wanted to just cover a little bit of the garage here for those of you that are new to this title, how to get started and how to set up your tech trees. But right off the bat, you're going to be presented with your typical screen, except at the bottom bar here, you're going to just have your planes if you've been playing Air Forces. What you're going to want to do is hit these arrows here and select your first reserve tank, which in this case for the Germans is the Panzer II C. So we're going to click on that, set him up. If you want to customize that, you just click on this or highlight over that, hit customization. You can do your camouflage conditions, so if you want to look worn and torn or whatever, or more factory fresh or cleaner at least, you can mess with that. The scaling of the camo or the pattern provided, and then rotating it around here as well. You can also choose a camouflage. In this case, it's just winter if you want to purchase that. And again, you can mess with the condition of that. You can scale it different ways. So you can look really unique, and this is a pretty cool feature. However, that's going to cost me Golden Eagles, and there aren't really any winter maps yet, so I don't think I want that. Okay, you can do your decals here. You'll only have access to 2 boxes if you don't have a premium account activated, which I do at least for 24 hours. And then you can go in here and place decals wherever you want. So, for example, if I wanted to, well, I don't want to really purchase that right now, but just as an example, if I wanted this on here, you can go ahead and do that. So on and so forth, rotate it, scale it, whatever. Pretty cool system, although I think some people abuse this and plaster decals at really large sizes all over the thing. I think they should be set to a certain size that you can't go beyond. I know plenty of you will probably yell at me for saying that, but I think I'm just more into realism instead of seeing weird tanks with crazy colors all over them that you would never see on the battlefield. But that's just me. Anyway, here you can also test drive the tank if you want to. You can usually do that with one tank ahead of you on the tech tree. So, for example, I have access to this. If I want to test drive this, I can. But as you can see here, I can test drive this as well, but I can't test drive anything that's in the red. That's different with premium tanks, though. You can test drive those. But beyond that, once you've set this up, we will then go to our research tree. And by default, it's going to be set to aviation. We're going to want to switch that over to Army. And I believe this had started me out on the TD line. So I was on the Stugs, and I didn't want to go down this line. So as I first opened my tech tree, it was set to something like this. And then I said, you know what, I don't really want that. I clicked on here, and then I hit research. And now all of my experience points from battles will go into this line. So make sure to set that, otherwise it's going to put them somewhere else to begin with. It's up to you. Beyond that, you do have premium tanks here. The ones that are red are unobtainable, or you had to pre-order them. This here was a captured Sherman tank made available before open beta. It was a way to buy your way into closed beta. I wasn't interested in using a captured Sherman tank. I was a little disappointed with the fact that they decided to provide this tank early on, because, I don't know, I felt like if we were going to see a Sherman, that it would be pure American, non-captured. So I was a little put off by the fact that they would sell us a captured tank to begin with for the Germans. But you can get these other ones here. The Russians have access, or had access, to this T-34 prototype. Again, we won't be able to get these anymore. That was a deal that ended, I believe, a little before open beta. I don't know if they'll ever make them available again, or if they've extended the time at which you can purchase them, but as far as I know, they said that you wouldn't be able to buy these once open beta hits. So they're kind of exclusive, and they were up there in price, but you got a bunch of decals in gold with them, so it wasn't too bad. There's also this, which I had seen, which I hadn't noticed anywhere else, so I don't know how people got these. This is a T-34 that's up armored. You can see it has spaced armor on the turret and on the sides here. I can tell you that the T-34s are already a giant pain in the neck generally at the early tiers for Germans, so I can imagine that if this is on the battlefield, it could be kind of problematic. But It is a tier 2, so by then, you know, we're going to be dealing with perhaps the F1. Yeah, you might have some trouble. The Stug should be able to deal with it a little bit better, but you can see that the rest of these are usually lower velocity guns, unless you're talking about the L here, which has a 50mm longer barrel, so it might have some penetration. But that spaced armor, again, going to be problematic. In fact, your early tiers with the Germans, expect trouble against Russian armor. Unfortunately, that's the way it was in real war. There might be some work that needs to be done. There are some discrepancies I had noted in beta testing. Point blank penetration seemed to be a bit off in some cases. Hopefully that's been resolved by now, but I guess we'll see. Time will tell. Again, though, there's some more premium tanks here that seem kind of interesting. This Jagd Panther actually looks really nice, and I might actually want to get one of these. Love the work on the Zimmerit coating here, but I think that's it. That'll set you up. Again, just set your trees the way you want to go. If you want to mess with your crew, definitely put points into weapon reloading when you get more of that. Probably deal with tank driving. Vitality's not bad to keep your crew going. Targeting, range finding, some of these things. I don't know how I feel about it. I wouldn't really spend too much on radio operator. Qualifications eventually, and again, just do it on a per tank basis well, in regards to qualification, per tank basis, but in regards to your crew, remember that this isn't like World of Tanks where each tank has its own crew. Your crew is per slot, so this is a crew, this is a crew, this is a crew, and so on and so forth. So once you up this, you'll switch this to a different tank or plane, and then you can then upgrade that crew through here. So for the most part, you're going to want to keep your tanks in one column if you're not playing arcade battles. If you're playing arcade, that means you can bring several tanks into action. But if you're playing realistic and sim battles primarily, or 100% of the time, then you're just going to want to put all your tanks into one slot so they share the same crew. And I think that is about it. Again, most of that information is for people that are newer to the game that aren't familiar with this. But next, what you're going to want to do is go to the to battle button here and make sure that it's on tank battles. Otherwise, it's going to be air. Your tank will be grayed out. You're going to switch it over to tank, and then you can choose what you want, arcade, realistic, or sim. I'm just going to start out with a realistic battle today, and we'll see what happens here. I'm not that far from unlocking my next tank. Again, early tiers, the Germans may suffer a little bit, so you really want to think about your position and get into hull down. Use any speed or maneuverability advantages you might have. As you might find that at tier 2, when you start seeing T-34s and whatnot, it can be a bit problematic, but just, you know, stick with it. Try to get those weak spots, and you should be fine. Get your friends involved. There's no region locking in this game, so you can play with people all around the world, which is a great opportunity for me. So perhaps I can play this with, you know, people like Jingles, or, you know, I can continue to play this game with Bismarck and so on and so forth, just because we're not locked out. So here we go. We've got some other ammunition available to me that I had unlocked earlier. I can see the millimeter penetrations here. This is my default 3125. I think that was about the same. Let's see, AP, armor piercing, incendiary tracer. Mixed with high explosive. This one's going to have more AP. Honestly, I'm thinking that I want to go with having more AP than having any of the high explosive. It's going to depend on the target, but I think this is the way I want to go. Keep in mind here, this says no respawn. That's kind of a lie. You'll see here that it says 3 out of 3. That means I have 3 lives total. So I'm going to come out here, and then I have 2 other spawns, I think, available to me. And that's all there is to it. So here we are on the Kuban. This tank is mostly upgraded. I think I'm missing one of the ammunition types. And I think I've got most everything else. Crew could use some work, but we'll see how this goes. Hostile team is capturing Zone A already. We got to take care of that. Now, I have noticed that they've thrown in a lot of AI, it seems. if you look over here, you see that there's some tanks out in front of me with just flat bars. I believe that's AI. And if we hit tab here, hopefully I don't get shot while I'm doing this, you can see that we do have players. You don't really see bot names, as far as I can tell, but there's still bots out there anyway. You can see, like, that's a real player there. You can see his name. But there are some out there that just have bars that I think are there to kind of add to the overall feel of the game. To be honest, not a huge fan of that, especially with some of the smaller maps. I don't think it's necessary, and a lot of the way, and most of the time, it's more of a distraction, because the bots don't really pose much of a threat to you. As far as I saw in beta, closed beta, they didn't really ever kill you. Their rounds would just always bounce off you, or they would miss a lot. But then you'd be paying attention to them, and a player would show up, and, well, you'd be in trouble. They are there, though, to perhaps grant you extra points. If you do kill the AI, you get credits or points for it, and that might help you on your way to new tanks. So maybe that's why they're out there. I don't know, but you can see we have a contact front already. And that is our first kill for this match. He was turning about. Now, you got to keep in mind that we are very one-shottable in this tank, so we have to be very careful here. This game is a lot more realistic than World of Tanks. You don't have hit points to keep you alive for an extended period of time. You can see that it appears they have polished up the maps quite a bit. There's not as much texture pop-in as there once was, so that's really nice. Kuban is a lot more lush, I think. It's looking a lot better than it was in previous iterations. And there you go. One shot, one kill by the BT-7. And that's this game, ladies and gentlemen. And I can tell you that if you're not a fan of what just happened, then you won't like this game. But please do me a favor and don't try to change it. That's the way this is. This is what you should expect. Am I upset that that happened? No, it happened. It's part of the game. I was doing live commentary. I got distracted, wasn't paying attention, got one-shotted. Alright, that's it. My tank doesn't have a lot of armor on it. I was out in the open. Now, the thing I don't like, though, in realistic battles and arcade battles, is that you can respawn. And now that I've respawned, I know where that guy is. I have a general idea. The only difference is perhaps that they've set me in a different location. So as before, I think I was on the bottom path. And now I'm up top. So if I wanted to go get that guy, I'd have to drive all the way back down to the bottom and think about where I last sighted him. So that might help a little bit if they swap your spawn locations, but in many cases too, you can you choose your initial spawn point. I don't know if I was able to do that here, but you know, that's this game. Again, this tank really just doesn't have much armor. BT-7 I think is equipped with a 45mm main gun, which is enough to get through this lightly armored Panzer II. You know, I was able to take out a BT early on, but his friend showed up. Now, in games with respawn turned on, you'll want to be really careful because a lot of times you'll hit somebody, they'll get pissed off, and they'll want to come back and get you. They saw you on the kill camera, they have a general idea of where you are, and they're just going to drive straight back to your location and try to take you out, which I've done myself. On the bright side, however, respawning does allow you to perhaps earn more credits and experience, and it just keeps you in the game for a little bit longer. But again, most of you that know me know that I prefer games without a respawn mechanic. Again, if you go into simulator battles, though, I don't believe you're going to deal with respawning as much, or if, or at all, I should say. So this T-26 up front. Contact left. But we just lost him. See if this guy comes around this corner here. They're capturing the zone. Up, shot out here. Get that gun barrel down. And he's down. So, I don't know if that was the same guy. Now, you always want to look all around you. I might be exposed more from the rear here. I'm going to lower my elevation here a little bit so that I'm not silhouetting. And, you know, this game does have a bit more of a learning curve. It is more difficult than World of Tanks, per se. Yeah, I suggest that you play the tutorial that they've included. There's a very early tutorial about movement and firing. So definitely play that to learn about some of the weak spots if you're new to tank games in general. If you're used to World of Tanks, then you should know that there are weak spots on tanks. Some of them might not be the same. For example, in World of Tanks, the lower glacis on many vehicles is an extreme weakness. However, in real life, the lower glacis was about the same thickness as the upper. The only difference is the slant or the slope that it was at might have been different. But in many cases, in real life, that was not as big of a weakness as it is in World of Tanks. So here, aiming for lower glacis, not always a good idea. Try to go for machine gun ports, driver slits, side, rear, hatches, things like that. So, I'd love to drive over to the objective, but from this position you can see that this would put us out in the open. Maybe we can go back down to the other side, as I don't really see too many targets out here in the open. I see a friendly down there. But this game, patience is truly a virtue. If you're impatient, you will die. If you drive out by yourself, no cover, in the open, you're going to die. If you don't die, then you're extremely lucky. Again, you saw, we were one-shotted by that BT-7 earlier. One single shot, perhaps the side armor, it was game over. You saw how I just took out those other, the last BT and the first one. Didn't take much at all. So you have to be very, very careful in this game. Okay, so we are fairly quick, so I'm just going to drive down this pathway here and try to get to the flag. We have taken it, but I want to reinforce it. I can tell you that game performance feels pretty good here. I do have VSync turned on for the sake of recording. I'm getting about 60 frames per second. Doesn't seem to be dropping too much. Of course, VSync will cap you, so I don't always suggest using it as a contact. We're going to start to slow down early here and see if he comes over. I've got a lot of foliage in front though, so I need to push up just a little bit and hope that this guy comes over that ridge. He might be engaging that friendly. What we're going to do is flank around. We're going to try to go around his right here. Maybe catch him on the tail end. Now again, in realistic battles, you do have your third-person perspective as well as name tags. In Sim, you shouldn't have any name tags. One shot out, kill assist. And you can see we're fairly exposed here, so we probably shouldn't have stopped out in the open like this. But it is closer to our territory. I'm going to go just full speed, pedal to the metal, and try to get out of here. Okay, so coming over this next ridge line and going around this corner, we want to be careful here. Watch those corners, don't just speed around. You might have somebody camping and waiting for you. Game's feeling a lot more solid since closed beta, I will tell you. Just the stability of the tanks, for now at least in this tank, feels pretty good. Suspension, not bad. We had one hit on target, but a couple others. Oh, target damage, but we took some hits there too. That was not actually a smart play by me because I stopped in the open with my side exposed, and again, I wanted to take that target out because I really didn't think he was aware of our presence, but you can see rounds coming in here. I want to try to get into this depression here, so don't do what I just did. Making a couple mistakes today, but I am kind of excited that we're finally in open beta, and I'm looking forward to grinding through some of these tank trees. Although I really shouldn't say grinding, because if it's grinding, that means it's not fun. So hopefully it'll be fun and it won't be too much of a grind, but we'll see. Got some explosions up front. Now, I do believe I have access to some artillery here, which, again, I'm not a huge fan of the arty system the way it is. I think it's kind of cheap that it lets you have that type of almost UAV perspective, but you know, it is what it is for now. We'll have to deal with it. See, that's my arty coming down. However, we don't have to deal with the type of arty that I absolutely despise in some other game that you know of. But it looks like we're about to win this one. Appears to be a contact left, and that's actually it. And it sounded like somebody just exploded behind me, but well, I can tell you that game felt a lot better than some of the games I had in closed beta, at least in regards to some performance. We were able to at least kill stuff, but so you can see here now I've unlocked the Panzer IV C, and we can go ahead and purchase that. I believe I will do so. Yes, sir. And then we can start to research the next, and I'm going to continue to put points into choose your new well, let's see. I think I got to go through the top line before I get to the next tier, so I'm thinking Panzer IIIs, that would take me down to some of those. We can get this ammunition here, and then there's the fire extinguisher, which they added. Not necessarily a huge fan of how that works, but okay, so that's fully upgraded. You know, not a fantastic game. We got the 2 kills there. We died once. And then we got 1 assist. But all in all, pretty good. Remember, any game where your team wins, for me, it's a good game. So there's that. You can then take a look at your crew, and we got some more points here. We can invest that. Probably, you know, I would I really want to get some more into the loading. I really feel that's important, but you also kind of want to balance that with your gunnery. However, I feel like the accuracy is not a huge issue, so I'm going to go ahead and just put those few points into loading. I might accelerate some more of that with Golden Eagles, to be honest, because once you get at least 1 crew just fully upgraded, that's going to help most of your tanks. So I'll probably do that. And then again, you can see we now have this Panzer IV, and we can choose to put him in a new slot. Again, if you're playing arcade battles and you're bringing lots of tanks in, you might want to have a light, medium, heavy, whatever. But if you're playing realistic or sim all the time, kind of like me, then you're going to want to choose the same crew for it. Hit OK there, and do that. So now you can see we've got this new tank in the garage. I will tell you, in all honesty, you're going to have problems with these lower velocity 75mm guns in this game, especially against a lot of the Russian armor at the tier 1. Like if you're fighting BT7s and things like that, not a big deal. But the second you start seeing, see where T60, T34 prototype might be kind of problematic just because of the armor if you run into that. But once you start seeing tier 2s, by then, well, T34, KV1s, we will have by then access to the, yeah, so you're still kind of stuck in the F1. It gets a little better with the better shells. But you've got the Panzer III, which has got high velocity but lower damage. So you'll be able to pen sometimes, but getting the killing blow, not always fantastic. Damage modeling in closed beta wasn't always fantastic. There were a few phases where the Germans were absolutely useless. And I'm talking about long barrel 75mm on a Panzer IV right up against a KV-1 side turret doing absolutely nothing. And things like that are just not acceptable. It was resolved over time, but I hope that Gaijin continues to work on the ballistics within this title. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I really hope you've enjoyed this brief primer to War Thunder ground forces. I know it can be difficult trying to find a YouTube channel that provides you with unbiased and honest feedback, as well as accurate information. I tend to continue bringing you that type of content, so I'll see you on the next one.